because good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Once again, welcome to day 11, where we speak about everything climate and the impact it has on women and children and on gender equity. And with us today is our presenter, Basudha Modak, joining us all the way from South Africa. And I'll take a moment to introduce Basudha because Basudha is, I've known her almost 5 years and counting. We've met virtually, and I look forward to actually meeting you next year when I hit South Africa. And I would like to acknowledge that Basudha Modak is an educator, an advocacy awardee, Commonwealth Business 2024 Ambassador, Spirit Awardee, and Top 21 Leaders in World Pulse Chapter Ambassador. A very passionate woman who never stops to advocate for anything that will bring gender equity. Basudha is one she's also she wears many hats and plays many roles in everything to do with philanthropic work and change and tech. It could be in tech. Basudha Modak is one of the top 40 Global Indian 2020 awardees by the Asia Africa Chamber of Commerce. And with that, outside and above that, we know Basudha to be a visionary and a change agent, not only that, a trailblazer, and that is shown and signified by her work. I remember years ago she said accolades may not be the ultimate. Those are just but titles. Those are awards, but what she focuses on is being part of that change that you want to see. And in that, this is true, it holds true to who she is. The advocate, the educator, the activist. And also, we cannot forever forget the role she plays outside all that work. She's also a mother, a wife, a sister, and to many, she's a sister to many women around the globe. So help me welcome Basudha Modak, who is going to take us through the journey of climate change and why it is important for us to pay attention. Take it away, Basudha, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Maria. You actually made me so emotional with the introduction. And absolutely true about what you said. My foremost role in society is as a mother and to make the community where they are in a better part than what I had been handed to them, and trying to assemble or try to improve as much as I can the destruction, the discredit that goes into generations, including me and you. And I believe that is my major contribution ever to society, to try to change, try to be a little of use to any way that we can help our kids. They did not wish to be born in this mess. They do not wish to be in this mess. Every single youth I talk to from any part of the country, whether it's, even if I say my birthplace is India, people in India want to go somewhere else. We don't like, it's hot. There are too much struggles here. We can't stay here. Even if I talk to any part of any youth in Africa, they are also thinking of running away. But there is no other place in the world that we can run to. We need to take our youth set. See, we have made this mess. We are now accountable to you. We are doing our utmost to give you a better world. Help us for it. Help us. Don't run away. There is no other place, no other country that you feel is better than the country that you are currently in. We are extremely sorry to all the youth who are listening in today that this mess, being the part or the topmost in the pyramid in the food chain, we have made such a mess everywhere. Be it our natural resources, be it our food, be it our usage of plastic, any all the sorts of pollutions we are creating. Not only plastic, all the types of pollution you think of, including air and water pollution. I'm starting the speech taking the accountability for this mess that we as parents, we as the elders in our community have done. And I hope that the women, the men, the youth who are going to listen into the call take something back, that all of us are capable of change. All of us can de-respond, de-fabricate. We have made a fabrication of lots of stuff over the years. We can defabricate the mess that we have created in the world that it is currently. And it is not happening to someone else. The first picture that comes to our mind when I talk about climate change is rural women in rural places walking far 10, 15, 20 kilometers for water. Be it in India, be it in other parts of Asia, be it in Africa, any parts of Africa. But climate change has got nothing to do with rural, has got nothing to do with the affluent and the poor. It affects all of us as I speak. And like I was discussing with Maria, over the course of the whole day, I am in a very affluent suburb of Johannesburg, South Africa, and we do not have access to any sort of water other than the tankers that are providing us water, and those who have got older kids are able to go and bring with our buckets. Those young moms with kids are not able to do. I have got reported cases of 6 people who have just been diagnosed with gastroenteritis in this fourth time. I'm not going back, in this last 4 days. And they are currently in hospital because of drinking water which they have no idea whether it was clean or not. And let me tell you right at the start that South Africa still remains one of those countries where you can directly drink water from the tap. But because we are drinking stored water, we are not able to analyze the quality of it. And what exactly is happening is, this is just the start, believe me. As I go through the discussion, as I do my presentation, I will tell you, we are trying to get all sorts of media, carte blanche, or the Devi show involved of why this mess is happening. It has happened in Cape Town a few years back. We knew that this prediction was coming for Johannesburg, but we, the common citizens, the municipalities, the stakeholders, did nothing about it. And that is where we are starting about why climate change affects you, me, everyone. The fire is now at your gate. We cannot say that, oh, it doesn't affect me. I have the money or the power to buy water. I have the money or the power to stop climate change by planting green trees or staying in a green place. The effects are worse. Let me start with my slideshow so that I can focus to you. But let me tell you, as I speak, I am very angry, depressed, and demotivated with the situation that this whole country finds itself in. Water is a basic human right along with food. It affects our livelihood, it affects our mental capability. You must have heard people say that when you are stressed, drink water, it will calm you down. But we don't have access to water right now. So, without further ado, I can keep on saying, because that is what we have been doing. A counselor not taking action, City of Johannesburg not allowed to enter a private property, a landowner who has just bought a property on a servitude on which Johannesburg water pipe was placed. And they had no idea when they bought the property that this is a public place and they should allow access to it. They have built a huge, at the cost of 40-50,000 ZAR, I think minimum, a swimming pool, a boundary hall, and no one is trying, and they are not allowing access. And because of them not allowing access, more than 2,500 of people in my community are without water. My experience, let's go back to our thing. And I would just like to request Monica, after I complete a presentation, I will prefer to have a 5 minutes gap so that people can go. In that time, there is a PDF I had shared for which I would like everyone in the call to give their inputs, which I can go and put forward to the requisite stakeholders, because this is a crisis on climate change that is happening in my part of the world right now. So after my presentation is finished, please share that PDF also. And now I go with the actual presentation, and it is all I can say is it affects all of us. Go through all of them very carefully, and I hope we can all take back something and start implementing it in whichever community we are all in. So, first thing for climate change, which we have seen happening. For those of us who are more than 30 years old, it has been happening for 3 decades. Intensive, frequent, and intensive drought. Storms coming without any prediction, without knowing anything about it. We just had a storm, a tornado like thing that destroyed Randfontein, literally swept the place out, which is a old gold mining town, just in Gauteng, in my province only, 7 days back. Intense heat wave, which we find Johannesburg currently in. Rising sea levels, for those of you who are near the sea or near the oceans, they must have observed the tides and the normal sea levels are more. Melting glaciers, all of us know about it, because somehow the melting glaciers have taken a huge priority because it's concerned with the sea levels. Warming oceans, those of you who are seeing or have access to the Atlantic will say the water is warmer than it was even 10 years back. It sometimes feels, especially in summer, like it is in South Africa now, it sometimes feel that you are entering the Indian Ocean, which is a supposedly warm current ocean. That's how vast the changes is. Destroying our wild animals, destroying their habitats, and most importantly, what we are finding is we are wreaking havoc on people's livelihood and settlement areas without understanding how we are doing it. What is actually happening now is, as I will go forward, I will give you real life examples, is we are thinking of the immediate gains, how rich we are becoming today. We are thinking that when we are becoming rich today, our kids will survive on the riches, on the money. But without forest, without a balanced green world, we cannot even think of the riches or the money coming to our kids. And as I start and go deeper into the presentation, on behalf of SAFTI, let me tell you this was done by my son Siddhant Modak for his research on climate change, where he is a first year engineering, chemical engineering student in the University of Pretoria. And he had made a direct comparison of the place Pretoria, where he's staying in residency, and Johannesburg, where his place of permanent place of residences. So whatever is going to be shared going forward is from experiences of our daily life that has happened in the last few years, and which this 18-year-old boy has been a part of. So we can't say our youth is not affected. We are doing something good for the youths. We are not doing. Now, before I start with climate change and gender equality, let me give you one more example, even though it's not in my province. But like I said, this is, I take up stories of things that are happening in my part of the world. In Limpopo, those of you have ever visited South Africa, you will know we have this amazing, and not only South Africa, all parts of Africa, we have these amazing baobab trees that store water inside their roots in terms of scarcity, and that is used by animals, including humans, for drinking, for washing our clothes, for cooking. It's like a river source in times of droughts. In the province of Limpopo, 10,000 baobab trees are currently being cut down by a Chinese steel company and damaging the livelihood of those people who are dependent on the baobab trees for their survival, for the fruits from the shoots that give us food to eat, from the water that is used by us where there is no municipal water, no riverside. We are endangered. I do not mean me personally, but it is affecting the women and children in Limpopo, whether it's the town or whether it's the rural cities. Just 10,000 baobab trees, you might say, but it is affecting 1 million people staying in Limpopo. So you can understand what is happening. In times of scarce rainfall, women have to work harder to secure income and resources. What do we mean by that? Women have to get up early to clean, cook, carry water before they're leaving for their jobs, or even if they're staying at home and doing the other household work. Immediate effect, which I see in all schoolgirls in South Africa, where education in our government schools are supposedly free. The girls are not allowed to go back to school, attend school, because they have younger kids to take care of. Their mothers are working as a domestic or as a corporate world, it doesn't matter. We do not have the privilege of a nanny or someone to take care of the kids. Majority of our homes here. So the supposedly poor or the supposedly rich, We still have to keep our young girls at home to take care of the younger ones, the other younger ones. And this starts from the time the girl is starting to be 7 years old. And that is where her education is being hampered. And they are often asked to leave school to help their mothers manage the household burden. And this is the beginning of the end of their cycle of gender based violence. Let me tell you this simple thing of girls staying out of schools to help their mothers in the security, supposed security of their home, is leading to gender based violence. Let's proceed and I will tell you how. We are not having access to medical services and health care because we are not having the time to go. In the time of a climate change, like it's a heat wave currently in my country, the ambulances are not able to reach the clinics. Lots of accidents. Let's start with the first thing that's happening. The ambulances are not able to come into our houses for an emergency or even to our centers. My nearest center is Witkopin. We have not had got our Witkopin centers access to ambulance for the last 15-20 days now. It's not a small amount of days. And what is happening, which as I speak is very horrible because it is increasing the risk to child and maternal health. The first option, let me tell you how. In private hospitals like the Santon Mediclinic, I'm not even going to the government hospitals. I'm taking names of the places because this is recorded. We are recording more stillbirths. And any child, any fetus that is less than 24 weeks old, as all of you in the call who are the women will know, the medical fraternity defines it as a miscarriage. So, can you understand what goes through the mother? She is not given a death certificate for her child. She cannot bury her child. She does not have access to a funeral service. Her baby is thrown away in the rubbish because it is supposedly a stillborn. But for the mother, I'm sorry, but for the mother, it's a child she has carried in her womb. And that child does not have the dignity. The mother will always carry. And can you understand the effect to the mental health of the mother? What's happening? But that's how it is. The rules are. More stillbirths, 20% more cases of stillbirths in the heat wave that are currently happening in Johannesburg has been recorded at our private hospitals. I cannot even dare to ask about the government hospitals where the women are giving birth in the floor, on the corridors, outside. And I am not even going for the rural areas. You might think that I am talking from a point of privilege. I'm ashamed of my privilege because it is not giving me any extra right as a woman to help some other woman in need. One more incident, let me come to that third thing. Let me tell you that 100-liter water bottle that I was talking about, which was diligently filled by my son yesterday around 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, because I can't carry heavy things. I have some back problems. Today morning, when I saw it, the cap was missing. It can happen. He is an 18 years old child. It happens. The cap was missing, and there were larvas. And I come from India. I was born in India. We have the municipality going about in places where, when I was staying in Delhi, where they spray the coolers every month. So I could recognize the larva. Those were live mosquito larvas feeding in that 100-liter bottle of potable drinking water supposedly given by the tankers yesterday. So I can shout at my son and blame him. But is he responsible for the mosquito breeding? He's not. The heat wave is. Vector-borne illnesses like malaria, Zika virus that leads to abnormality in the fetus, mental problems in the perfectly born child is leading to worse maternal outcomes. And one more thing, which I think every woman, every one of you in the call will tell me about. We have a certain budget for food, and we try to give our best to our men. We try to give our best food for our children, all of those who are dependent on us, and only though after that, whatever is remaining, we eat. And because the cost year on year of food in Pick and Pay or Checkers has grown by 40% now. So the amount, our salaries, the amount has not increased that much. We are eating less so that our men, our kids can eat more. Are you understanding how we are getting deep into this vicious cycle from a place of education, from a place of privilege? And hence I say we are being sucked into this because all because of climate change. I speak of gender equality. I speak of inequality cannot happen anywhere. But I am inherently being unequal because I want the best for my family. I want the best to give to the community. If I see a girl hungry, I will feed her first before I eat myself. I'm an older woman. I can go out for food without a day. The young girl can't. But this is a stopgap arrangement. This is not a sustainable solution. Now, how is climate change affecting our gender inequality? Threats to ways of life and safety. I remember a very well known person saying around 2 decades back in just a conversation that the next war is going to be fought on the requirement of drinking potable water. That is where the next war is going to be. Even if we are able to go and buy a pot of water from the supermarket, imagine the cost it was 10 years back, 20 years back. South Africa still has, I'm grateful for that, the access of water when we have it flowing from our taps, that we can directly drink that water without going through the process of purifying it like the rest of the world does. But when I'm going out to carry my kids need water at 11 o'clock at night, I'm going to a spaza shop. Is there a guarantee I will return safe? I might be violated, I might be abused, I might be killed. And this danger increases when we are talking about townships, rural areas. So it's affecting my life and safety, starting from me. I am talking to you right now here. Think of those who are not able to come and tell you in this call that yes, we need access to drinking water 24 hours a day. We are becoming more vulnerable to all forms of GBV you can think of. And worst, what is happening, which really saddens me, is women, girls working as domestics in people's houses in lieu of food and drinking water, not money, in lieu of nappies for their newborn kids. These are my personal experience of my people, the woman I know. And it is very easy to abuse a woman when she has got that emotional attachment of always being there for her kids, for her family, for all those dependents on her. We are standing at horrible conflict because of climate change. And it's leading to domestic violence. It's leading to gun. It's leading to access of, you can say, we are trying to stop guns in the civilized part of the world, but guns are being accessed and we are being shot down. The women are being shot down because of a bottle of 25 liters water. If you just go through the news in South Africa, you'll find that happening. Rise in human trafficking. When I see that, it comes to my girls. A 7-year-old girl lured by her neighbor for a 25 liters of water, raped. Without going into the details, a mother sold off in Langa in Cape Town her beautiful 8 years old daughter for money to buy food. Drugs is also involved. She sold off her daughter. Woman loot for jobs in Johannesburg CBD. The job for priorities right now food and water. Every person, every woman I talk to, we are not paying on clothes, we are not paying on makeup. I am talking to people who are working in the pick and pay shops, who are cleaners at someone's houses, who are domestic at in it's Christmas time now. These are the things that a woman spends on generally 5 years back. They are now spending only on food and water and basic diapers and medicines. Result is rise in human trafficking in all ways. Body parts, blood, forced taking of blood, and of course, selling off of young women and girls. And one more thing, when I say forced pregnancies, the way I see and the way I experience it in South Africa townships is a bit different. Forced pregnancies. We have got the government giving us a SASA for child at a sum of 2150 as I speak. It is supposed to become 2350 from next year per month. So the men are saying that if we have one more child, we will get that SASA grant to feed our kids. We can share the money, not spending it on the kids, spending it on food for us. Even though that is generally spent on Daha or other sites of drug vices by the male. The woman is forced to get pregnant to bear another child without her wanting to have any other mouth to feed. She's not given the choice. She does not have a choice. It's climate change. And we keep on saying, oh, we don't, it doesn't affect us. And the worst part of it is I am a tribal woman from India and I am genetically predisposed to being affected by climate change. And that's where the thing got interesting when I saw my son talking about it and I researched a bit. Climate change risks are acute for indigenous and Afro descendant women. Older women. Older women, I'm talking 45 plus. Because of the health, because of the medical facilities that we have in our communities, we do not have access to healthcare. We are growing older quicker. So 45 plus is old in our communities, indigenous and Afro descendant women. LGBTQ plus community. The shame is there. And since I'm an advocate for having a girl with special needs, women and girls with disabilities are predisposed in every way to climate change. They're not allowed access to go out, access to facilities, access to drinking water, access to medicine, anything of access that you can think of is stopped by them. And migrant women. Yes, I am educated. I have a degree to my name, but finally I'm a migrant woman. I had to look for water, I had to look for building a community, I had to look for food, find where food is the cheapest, because I was not born here. And for the first decade of staying in the country, I did not have medical access because I was not a South African permanent resident. And now multiply it as much as you can, women and men and youth in this call, and think those living in rural, remote, conflict and disaster prone areas. What are they facing? I shudder when I think of it. The reason why I wanted to bring climate change into the forum is gender based violence is currently a crisis, and climate change is aggravating this crisis. And that's what I needed it to be shared and said today. You know what happens? I went through one more. Hold on, let me. I have to. Sorry. This is what I was trying to talk about. When disaster strikes, when there is a tornado happening, when the seas are rising, those that are happening here, when there is a heat wave, women are less likely to survive because of our mental weakness or physical weakness, access less access to medicine, and more likely to be injured. We see all those photos of helicopters dropping food in flood affected areas, drought areas. Have you ever seen a woman there? She cannot walk. She does not have the capability to get the assistance. She's taking care of her kids at home and no one is there to bring anything for her. Result, she has less access to relief and assistance. Even if there are multiple humanitarian organizations that are ready to help her, she's growing more weaker. It's threatening her livelihood. It's threatening her dependent young kids, her depending older parents. And it's a never ending cycle of death. That's what is happening. Never ending cycle of death. Women are, as I speak, almost delegated to the level of an animal for survival, for food and water. And this is creating a cycle of vulnerability and recovery for future disasters. When she's already weakened now, when she is got into the vice of selling her body, selling her blood, even selling her body parts like kidney or even a part of the liver, which we have cases of, recorded cases of. Is she going to survive a future disaster? Do you believe she will survive? No, she won't. She's already weak. Now, like I was saying, I keep on researching all that is there in the world for empowering women in climate adaptation. Now, I have a few men in the call. They will say that why am I prioritizing women? My experience says, me being a woman, when I go and talk to another woman, I call it as educating that woman, I find a ripple of change happens. When you talk to a man, when you talk to a male, you have to talk to every single male individually. But if there is a group of 20 women into the call, group of 20 women sitting around with me, this 20 women will go and speak to 10, 15, 20 more women without me prodding them. That's why I've talked about empowering women. It's easier to multiply what we want, the changes in the community when we talk with women as compared to talk with men. I feel it's a bit genetic. I have a son. If I talk to a son, if I don't tell him, please go and tell this, he will stay quiet. But if I tell the same thing to my daughter, She finds an idea of advantage, she will go and talk to her friends, the friends will go and talk to someone, and it's a ripple process. Now, this group, it's a self-help group. Those of us who are in South Africa, we know about the Stockville that we do. We put a certain amount of money, and those who are needy can access if they're a part of a group. In India, we call it as kitty, but rather than helping it as parties, we use it for buying water and food or setting up women entrepreneurs. Women empowering resilience and adaptation to climate change. This is a group, it's a worldwide group. It collects individual savings once a week from those who are able to generate a pool of funds from which the women borrow and invest into income generating activities that address climate change, and that helps them grow, become self reliant and independent. We just had COP29 completed. Before I come to the next thing, how many women leaders were there? How many women were allowed to speak from and on behalf of the grassroots community? They were very highly qualified dignitaries there. I have no vice against them. I have no problem listening to them. But they do not carry the voice of the grassroots communities. They don't understand what is ailing us who are working with the grassroots. We are not allowed to sit at the table because we do not have the required qualification. Oh, you are an engineer, you're stuck to development of software, hardware, blah, blah, blah. Or you are in politics, go and join your party. You cannot speak. A DA cannot merge with, say, ANC and say that, yeah, even though we have a GNU government, it's struggling a lot. We are not able to come into a discussion there. To explicitly define the role of other women in national and international climate policies. What is affecting us in Johannesburg cannot be discussed by someone who is affected in Limpopo. I can hear their stories. Cannot be affected and known by people who are in Cape Town. They have a different problem. They have a severe problem. But my Johannesburg problem can be solved only by me and women who are in Johannesburg. So we need that. And why I talk about educating young girls. Train women to be leaders and build their decision making capabilities. Every woman knows what ails her. She knows how she can bring about change. But the society or the community is the cause of stopping her from bringing about change. That is where the problem is happening. Now, when I say this, ensure women's tenants' rights are secure. What do you mean by women tenants? Women tenants, I mean women are flexible. We don't have a home. We have been brought up to say your home is where you're married to, your home is where your son stays or your daughter stays. We don't have a home. We change cities based on the needs of people whom we love. So, wherever we are going, wherever we are shifting, we should have same amount, equality of rights that we were getting from where we came from. And this is, I believe, a utopia. I am not very sure that I will see this in my lifetime, but hope that the youth, the men, the women, the girls, the boys take this forward to make it a reality of giving access to rights of women everywhere in the world as the same. Only then can we stop gender based violence. So, what can you do when I talk about environmental justice? We are struggling. Last 4 days, I have been fighting as a member of a privileged community, talking, WhatsApping, emailing, going and shouting, picketing, doing what I can. With many women like us, it's women who are affected. There are very less men there. Men says, yeah, you go and do it. We are just having our December holidays which has started. Just give us food and go and do your stuff. Ensure clean water, access for better lives. That's what you, me, all of us can do. Supporting girls and women in crisis. The general tendency of women we find is, oh, she must have done something wrong for her to be facing domestic violence, for her to be sexually assaulted, be it in the workplace or be it at home, be it in township. Believe that woman who has dared to come and share her story with you. She is not in a right frame of mind. Take her to the police station, take her for counseling, be her support system. Who is stopping you from believing in her? Is that very hard to do? To support being a woman, supporting another woman in a crisis? Grooming our girl leaders. The last slide, like I just said. That is what I call as mentoring for local impact. Get the young girls, get the young men, get the young boys and tell, yeah, do this. Rain is falling. Do rainwater harvesting. You always have cans in the house. If you don't have a 10-liter can, 25-liter can, use a 5-liter water bottle. Attach it with a pipe and see. You can do that. Use it at the ground level. Empower female entrepreneurs. Let more women become self reliant. If not a job, we don't have jobs as much as we have population anywhere in the world. Help them set up their own business. Help them set up their little food delivery service from home. That much you can afford, all of us can do. That does not take a huge amount of money. These are all little changes I'm talking about. I'm not talking about big changes. These little changes are what will finally bring the big changes. Advocacy for education for all. Now, this is I think individually I can grow for hours about this, but when I say advocating for education, I do not only mean a college degree, a TVET degree, or a diploma so that the person can go and work somewhere. I also mean educating them about gender based violence. I also mean educating them about digital technology, educating them about how to make a police report, educating them on recognizing gender based violence happening in their homes, in their neighborhood, in their community when they're visiting some place. We can look and realize that yes, there is a case of violence happening. I think we women have that intuition. That is what I mean for advocating for education. It's not education academics only. And now it's Christmas. Those of us who can, I think all of us in the call are powerful women activists, men activists. We have already done our part. But those of you who are going to listen to this call, I will say help new moms for health starts. Give them a good, nutritious food packet to last them 6 months. Support them with their kids' diapers, baby food, the initial months. If you can do nothing, believe me, if you can do nothing, no money. I have done this because I have not got that when I was a young mom. I go to the young mom's house. Listen, girl, go off to sleep. I am taking care of your child. When you are done, when you're feeling refreshed, come back. This all of us can do. We don't need money for doing that. If you say you're lacking, all of us are lacking on resources. Please go and do that. This is how we can contribute to climate change. And when I go through COP29, they will tell you plant more trees. Make sure that water is not wasted. Now tell me, a woman who needs to light her fire, she needs to cut trees. She needs to get the twigs. What is the alternative source of resource that the government is giving? I will hold every single municipality, every single government into this accountability now. What are you providing for women when you are talking about us implementing climate change? If you have seen me in this call, what I have done is I have actually told you how to empower other women to stop gender based violence and stop climate change from deteriorating further in the community that you are in. But if I go on record to speak of this crisis that is happening in the city of Johannesburg right now, I hold the mayor and his cronies responsible. They have not done any maintenance of the water lines. They have not made sure that water is not wasted from our leaking taps. They knew that Cape Town has faced this crisis in 2011 to 2014-15. It will happen in other parts as expanding, as we are growing in our communities, as Johannesburg is actually a business town. So we have got thousands of people arriving daily in search of work. So we need houses. When houses are being built, when apartments are being built, are you making options for the waters? A tap to supply the community and transformer, a proper transformer for the electricity? As I'm speaking, I'm only considering Johannesburg. I'm not even leaving my city. Midrand in the south of Johannesburg has been without water. Ennerdale, the township of Ennerdale, if you just Google it, for more than 3 weeks now. I cannot bear 4 days without water, and I'm capable of buying it. It's December, the domestics are on holidays because the places they work in are on holidays. They don't have money to buy water, to buy food. How are they surviving on 3 weeks without water? And why should they survive without water? Let us build our community. Take hold of every woman you find as you leave this call today and sit down and say, what can we contribute towards climate change? Like I said, I will take a 5 minutes pause now before I come back to the second part where I will ask you to give me feedback on what I should do to help my community. It's a collective thing. None of us are in this together. Believe me, we are all dying. Before dying, let's do something for the future of our children. I'd just like a 5 minutes break if it is okay with Maria and Candice.
You certainly can take a five. And whilst Basudha is taking a five, and all of us have access to the PDF, the form that we've just shared, please complete it so that when we come back for the second part of our session, you'll be able to address questions to the presenter and see what you are recommending she could do to also send the message. And I think this far we can all agree it has been a very enlightening, informative presentation. We are all learning so much and more. So I have my questions already, and I hope we all come up with questions. And there have been some methods that she has recommended. And I like the fact that she said, we cannot talk of lacking. We all can do something. we all can do something. You and I can do something. What is it that we can do? To empower self, to empower the communities we are in, more so to empower the youth. The youth. She started earlier by apologizing to the youth that they did not choose to be born in this mess. So it means it's our responsibility to correct that. What are your thoughts? What's your call to action? What is it that you're going to do better? If you can share that, if you're tuning in on Facebook, joining us on Facebook, we want to hear your thoughts as well. Put them in the chat and we'll be able to share with our facilitator. Keep those questions coming. What's your call to action? I want us to be thinking hard. What is it that we can do in our communities? This is your time to share. We all can learn from each other. And for us that are in developed countries or developed economies, what's our call to action? For those of us that could be in Canada, in the global north, or United States, Europe, the privileged countries, what's your call to action? What are you doing about climate change and how it's impacting women and girls? Have we done enough? Has enough been done? Are we holding the women in leadership? Are we having enough conversations about climate and how it impacts women and girls? Those are some of the issues we're putting at hand. Think about them. What is it that you and I can do? Remember, you have a part to play. You and I and our communities have a part to play. I love it when she said, we are all dying. But how would you want to leave this world? A better place or a mess? Food for thought. What is going to be your call to action when it comes to climate and its impact on women and girls and the societies and the communities we live in? What's your call to action? Monica, what's your thoughts so far? What are your thoughts so far?
Can I compare something?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm on my 60s. I came from Colombia, and to be honest, now my camera is kind of funny today. Sorry about this. Technical difficulties. Anyhow, and I think Colombia is one of the countries that has so much resources. And then I came here to Canada where water is, and when we don't experience, even though that is cold, and you see that Vancouver is with more winter, and you see this, but you don't experience, and sometimes when we don't experience something missing, we don't appreciate, and we kind of ignore, and mostly people in my generation we have to work better in our generation. I think, I don't know if that is something that we can talk with you, but I think my generation is more, I can say, and don't take me wrong, ignorant and some kind of doesn't care, something like that, on the issue of the climate change, even though that we are seeing that is happening, but we are in that age that I think we need to work more with my generation. I say for me, and because I live in the place of the world that we don't see that much. We don't see that we missing water. Even the coldest winter, I have been living here in Canada for since 2000. Um, I never experienced, well, one probably not to have electricity, never to not to have gas. So we're kind of in that area that we don't feel it, it doesn't exist. Or I don't see it, it doesn't exist. And we have to be more conscious about that it does exist, that is there, that our world is getting down if we don't do something. And then the problem, furthermore, is because we are doing electrical cars, but then we see what it is the electrical cars doing, because to produce an electrical car, sometimes the people say, I'm totally ignorant in here, and I confess in myself. Um, I don't know if that is good or not, and what we need, what kind of infrastructure, and if it's going to be better. Is solutions that we don't know if they are. So I leave it there. Sorry, but I want to be
Oh,
honest.
no,
I put
no,
it
we
there.
love it when you express yourself and when you share the experience. And like we said, we are here to learn, unlearn, and be empowered so that in turn we're able to take the resources shared today, we can take them to our communities and do better. Because if you remember, the presenters, the facilitator actually urged us to say there is something you and I can do. So it becomes our responsibility. And your call to action, you've said, you've addressed a demographic where you're saying, well, with because when you don't experience it, it doesn't exist. But yet in reality, it's real. This climate change issues and issues around that is real, and it's not going away. So what is it, and your ask is, what is it that could be done better so that those of us that are within that age, that demographic, can do better? Because if we are empowered, if information is passed down to us, then we learn and then we do better, which is the ask that Basudha is asking us. What is it that, what is your call to action? And in that case, Basudha, what would you recommend from where Monica is coming from? Uh, what are your thoughts regarding that? Looking at the situation, she has become a voice for many. She said
Yeah.
something that is like the elephant in the room, which we don't
Yes.
talk about. We don't appreciate that it's
Yes.
okay to be ignorant and it's okay to
Yes.
accept that I don't know. So, what would be your thoughts regarding that?
Absolutely. I understand, Monica. Thank you, Maria. I understand, Monica, absolutely where you are coming from, because growing up in India, this was not an issue for us. We used to draw pictures of Rajasthani women carrying pots of waters on their heads, and that is where we were limited to. So I can perfectly understand what you are saying and what is why we need advocacy. And since you are in this call today, you are also a part of the advocacy. What you said is what your thoughts were before you started the call. Now, when you have listened to the presentation, you are also accountable. So, what you can go out and do is talk to the woman next to you who says, "Oh, I am not affected by climate change," and tell how Canada, which has no problem with electricity, no problem with power, no problem with water, is still affected by climate change happening in some end part of Southern Africa. And that is where you are bringing about change about climate. You are contributing to the advocacy, to the directive of creating awareness on climate change. And as you start speaking, that's how all of us, I believe, became activists. You will know more, you will want to learn more, and you will get involved. And believe me, a few months from now, if I go into a second call with you, you will be telling me that, yes, Basudha, I have done this in my community in Canada, which does not understand climate change because it doesn't affect them. And I can guarantee this to you, Monica. You are currently a part of the advocacy. There was before call and this is the after call. Your after call is you are also going to empower women into understanding the effects of climate change and gender based violence. And you start from now, as soon as you get out of the call.
Well put. What a challenge. What a challenge to all. And I take that and I appreciate that because then there's hope for her global. It becomes not just part of our 16-day conversation. We'll have to map it out and see how we can actively be involved in empowering all that are connected in all our entities, come up with a program of advocacy. What is it that where we add our voice and how can we make it better? So that is a call to action that I would personally and collectively take on behalf of Hope for Her Global and say, this for 2025, what is it that we can do better as an organization that has global entities? What is it that we can do better? And as a grassroots organization. And I need us to understand that because I saw in the comments where men champions, and they're joining us from rural Kenya, Kakamega, just to give you a
Yes.
scope on who men champions are. And
Mhm.
we will give them an opportunity to kind of share what their lived experience with you, Basudha, and where you can recommend certain aspects that may work to help them. What is it that they could do better as an organization who was working with very little resources in the rural part of Kenya? Kakamega is the county. And what is it that they could do better? Because they've said rural communities need advocacy on climate change. And they noted that we need law to emphasize on climate change. We need advocacy for clean water to the rural communities and need implementation of health of water policies. Health facilities also need we need to advocate on issues of water and sanitation. And what's your take on that generalization that they've put in the chat as you address their real lived experience as an organization, grassroots organization in rural Kenya?
Thank you, Maria. This is something absolutely which I have started actually implementing in townships. What Charles can first of all do is start a workshop the Women's Circle workshop, where you teach them about how to clean water, how to purify the water using the basic systems of clay pot. And uh, I don't think it is within the scope of the call. I think best is it would be if he goes into a call with me after this or some days in the future, and I can say how to purify clean water, how to do rainwater harvesting, and how to go for clean sanitation. If he can hold a workshop of 3 days with these basic priorities and take it up from there, I think that is the best way to challenge this climate change that's happening currently and the way it's affecting us women. Giving them knowledge on how to purify the water, teach them about rainwater harvesting, and how to sanitize their bathrooms and pit latrines. Will that work for you, Charles? I would definitely look forward to a workshop if you can hold. I can send over presentations in my videos and you can share it with them. The process of how to get potable drinking water from whatever the source of water is, boil the water before drinking, cleaning up the toilets with the pit liquid, how to make the pit liquid. If they have pit latrines, if they have proper toilets, then it's all fine and good. But I believe that is the first way of starting this. The three best things. Once you do that, then you proceed with more details of advocating. We can think of advocating after our community is secure. And as I can see that your community needs implementation of the water policies, they need health facilities, advocacy on issues of water and sanitation. So your community is currently not secure. Not secure in the means of they don't have access to clean drinking water, proper sanitation, and how to store rainwater. So let us start from securing your community. Once your community is secure, we can think of advocacy and implementation of the government policies. Does that work for you, Charles? Okwemba? Are you in the call?
Charles.
Yes, he is. He is.
Okay.
He just needs to
Okay.
unmute. Uncle Charles,
Okay.
can you unmute?
Charles.
Yes, thank you so
Okay.
much, Basudha. And I think that's the right way. And we really appreciate you for the information. And I think now men are so much informed of what is happening and the dangers that women and children are facing. So we are able to hold the 3 days workshop with the women, even with the youth, because this is our call as men champions at Alpha. And so we shall communicate. I think I'm sending you our email address so that if there is any issue, you could also send us the information so that we pass around. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Basudha, on that. Very appreciative. Again, this is the power of why when we gather on these calls, now you have like for Kakamega, for men champions, not only that for their community, they are going to get resources. And again, it's knowledge that you get in terms, I always say sometimes we overlook, we tend to focus on the capital, but investments don't only always come as capital, they come in different forms. And seeing that, men champion, you have a resource person and an expert who's saying, I will be able to work with you, I'll be able to share more information that will help you as an organization empower your community and the people you serve. We don't take that for granted. We want to thank you for that. And I had a
I would
few questions.
also like to add,
Mhm.
Maria, one thing. For actually, this is for everyone in the call. Remember this one single thing, that when you are in an aeroplane, you are first given the oxygen mask. You breathe it and then you go and attach it to a child. This is the same about climate change, like I was telling to Mr. Charles Okwemba. Remember, first you secure your community, make the options available to them, and only then think of advocacy. Because believe me, the government will not come and implement till you are ready to take action yourself. So, first secure your community, then go for advocacy. And start with securing, like I just said. Thank you, Maria. Sorry for getting in.
No,
I
no,
just need.
no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, not at all. We are still taking in the questions, like you said,
Yes.
that you any the recommendations, and
Yes.
it's. I remember earlier on Aveen from India. She said she had two
Two questions.
questions that she was
Yeah.
going to ask and address during this session. So, Aveen, if you can unmute, and this is your time.
Well, yeah, I think a lot has already been conveyed and communicated during the presentation. And if anything is needed, then we can definitely get in touch. Like we said, that we'll be taking care of the time as well. So that's all right.
We do have time.
No, no, that is all
Right.
right. Yeah, go ahead.
My
Yeah,
son is right now the water warrior. The reason why he's not in the call, our water tanker has arrived and he has gone to fill his do his water duty. So he has excused himself in the call. So I am available for answering any questions as long as Maria allows me. So
absolutely. And this is a
yes,
very important issue and
yes.
of concern. And absolutely, you have our permission to certainly answer questions. This is your time. Absolutely.
Thank you, Maria. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Maya. So my concern was like we talked about that, which was brought up with Monica as well, that sometimes people do not know what to do because they are not facing the same problem. So how
Hmm.
do you think that the climate change? Now, this is something I'm taking from your part, what you have shared,
Hmm.
but something that I had prior to the presentation as well.
Hmm.
So my concern was that how do we combat this situation? Don't you think that it is easier to go out and live in uh, maybe in the Western countries, and we do not have to face so much of climate effect on our day-to-day lives? Like you know that there are extreme temperatures in India and other parts.
Hmm.
So here what happens is that our work and progress automatically comes down when such climates hit us. So what do you think about this?
Yes, you are representing exactly the voice of the youth, which I told right at the beginning of the call. The youth from India are trying to, India and other Asian countries are trying to move to Western countries. Even those from Africa are looking for opportunities to go because they are facing climate problems in their countries, facing, you can say, disability in their growth in their country of origin. But if you heard initially in the call, I said we have no longer any place to run to. Today, Canada, USA, or other countries are giving you the option of staying. But do you understand that they are overburdened with their availability of resources? And 10 years hence, today you might be able to move to a Western country, but 10 years hence, someone from India who has no accountability, who is not aware, will not be able to move to these Western countries for a better opportunity, for not be affected by climate change. So you can say what I am actually doing right now is predicting that we are already facing a wall. You see that wall back of me? We are already stuck to the wall. We have no more place to go. We have to stand back, create awareness, make the change in the community that we are in. No other country has the resources going forward to support our youth to have a better life. I understand where you are coming from because I have myself relocated from India for better opportunities. And this is what my experience is growing up my own kids. We have no other place to run to. Exact words. Whichever place we are running to is overburdened, overutilized, scarce in all sorts of resources due to climate change. So, what can we do? How much are we going to ignore? Based on our privilege, based on our money, how much are we going to run away? We need to make people aware that this is not the way. Where you are, change that place. There are lots of instances. I actually take inspiration from this Facebook page called The Better India, where they put stories of farmers, illiterate men who have planted trees for 10, 12, 13 years, and that place has become a forest and thriving. At the same time, we have also got Western people who are rich enough, who have bought islands and huge properties in the middle of the Texas deserts and elsewhere and planted it with trees where the whole thing strikes. Also, at the other end, what is Saudi Arabia doing? They are trying to stop the forest. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, lots of countries are doing by planting a special type of trees which grows very quick and also which absorbs water. Some of them absorbs water, some of them stops the desert from coming. So why are those people doing that? Do they lack money? Do they lack an option of living and going elsewhere? No. We need to make the place we are living in better before thinking of utilizing resources and destroying some other place which has the resources. Because believe me, that is what all these Western countries are going to be because of this influx from underdeveloped countries. And that is what I'm speaking about on the call. The youth needs to take a stand. The youth needs to stop from running away. There is no other place for you to go. Once upon a time, our parents in the 80s moved from villages, stopped their farming, moved to cities. And you see how, if we take the example of see Bangalore, see Madras, Chennai, sorry, see Delhi. Forget Delhi, go to the NCR. Are you seeing what's happening with the climate there? Have you seen a water scarcity happen in Bangalore? I don't know if you have ever stayed there. My sister stayed there. That's why I'm saying she stays there. In the last 2009, I was there before that. 2009 to now, water scarcity, traffic, huge pollution. Did you ever imagine that when Bangalore was set up? See in India. You are escaping to Canada because you have the opportunity. Someone who doesn't have the opportunity is shifting from the villages to Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, Madras, or the Tower 2 Indian cities. Whoever has the opportunity is moving for a better place. But is the better place sustaining? The better place is not sustaining because we are not blocking climate change. The fire is at our back. We are stuck in a wall now, Avni. Youth have to stand back and take the charge. It's up to you now, believe me.
Right, totally. Like you understood it well, that this was not a personal question, but rather coming from the voice of the youth.
Yes,
and,
exactly. Yeah.
Though you took a couple of points in the presentation, but thank you for elaborating it, which will help me to, speak out in front of the people as well. So you've taken into consideration all of the points that I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Avni. I work with the youth, and I have got youths 18 and 19 and a half at home. So believe me, I understand where the youth come from, and I also understand where my generation come to. So it is, we have to work together, but the youth have more opportunities because you are going to be there more. We are doing our best. It's, you can do more. Our best is not going to be as much as you as a youth can do. Age is at your
Uh,
side.
yes, totally. And also, maybe at your generation, people acknowledge this problem maybe in their late 40s or
Yes.
60s. But right now,
Yes.
if we can see that problem and addressing it at this moment at 18, at 19, at 14,
Yes.
so definitely we
Yes.
have a lot more time and more vigilant. Like the youth is more vigilant to these things now.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I was pointing across.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Avni.
Wow, I'm totally blown away and also inspired to do more and pressed on the challenge that it's time we involve the youth in this conversation. And it almost makes me feel strongly that we do need to have another call on this particular issue, but really bring the youth into the conversation because again you said it is we want them to also understand. You spoke of the longevity, they are there for the long haul, which is true. That is the reality, because if your one is in your 50s like I am, it's not guaranteed that I have another 50 years. So it is time to have the youth take a stand, because this is their planet. This is Earth where their lives are going to be made, where their dreams are going to be fulfilled. And if they think they're not impacted by climate, then maybe it's time we do better as leaders, as advocates, as feminists, as activists. We really need to start having the climate conversations with the youth. The future belongs to them, and it's our responsibility. So you've really challenged us, Basudha, for another call, which will be reaching out to you for 2025, and where we can start having these conversations with our youth, and we will really take the responsibility to reach out to grassroots, urban, and all, and have that collective learning process for them where they will also be empowered, and we can give them something to work on, what their call to action will be. And we can start these conversations small by challenging the youth. So thank you for reminding us that it's time to really involve the youth in the climate conversation. I see Monica's hand is up, and Monica, take it away.
Well, because and it's interesting that we have the different generations and the point of view, and I think you have so many tools in there. We have to. I am no 100% agree on your take that we are. I'm 60 and closer to the other side than that this side, but we have influence, and I I think some generations are more in this issue. I think the we are more less emphasis on that because that is the reason, because it's not going to affect me. But we have grandkids, we have kids, we have a generation, and we have to have the legacy. However, I think it has to be a different conversation with this group than this other group. And it has to be, because I don't want to reinvent the wheel. The wheel is invented, you guys
Absolutely.
working with this, and it has to be a tools for My generation, actually, Maria's generation is a little different, even though that we are just 10 years apart. But is that we have to have those conversations, and we have to have, but it's a different conversation. That is what I
Absolutely.
want to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Yeah, Monica, if I like to add, see, my vision of working is, you can say, we are. I belong to the army. My father is an army man, and that's how I have always tackled my studies and my life. If I take an example in a very simple way, we are fighting a battle against climate change. And the youth are our soldiers who can lead the effort in protesting, in holding accountable the people in positions of power. And what do we bring? We bring our experience of living the situation. We bring our experience of peers or people, like you are directly not affected, but today you have heard that what's happening here, so you are indirectly affected. So you are bringing your experience, your capabilities, your knowledge, which the youth lacks. So you cannot say that your conversation and the youth conversation is different. The way of processing the information when they are putting it out into the community will be different. They will be more angry because youth wants change instantly. We understand change takes time to happen. That's on our experience. But the conversation has to bring the inexperienced freshers and the experienced us both on the same table. We cannot do one without the other. The way of presentation might be a bit different, but the issue remains the same. The battle to fight climate change has to be from all fronts. It cannot be only the youth going or only us going, only the women working or the men working. Every single hand in a battlefield has to be active. That's the only way we can stop climate change. And bad has already been done. Done. We are almost finished the way we stand today. When we see GBV in South Africa, 67%. And that's a lot because of climate change. A lot. Especially the migration of women from other African countries for job. It's overburdening our resources also. The lack of apathy, sympathy, accountability by the government, that's also an issue. So each person has a capability. Young, old, middle aged, use that capability to stop climate change. All hands on board. That's what I believe in. Thank you, Monica.
And we also have a hand up from Aveen. Aveen, unmute yourself. Wow. Well said. Well said. I am totally just, it's a learning curve for me, honestly. So much to learn and take away. Take it away, Aveen.
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that I wasn't indicating it to a particular person, but talking about the
Yeah.
masses, that is the
Yes.
mindset of the people. And people
Yes.
always feel that the grass is always greener on the other side,
Yes.
without
Yes.
recognizing the fact that we have to water the roots from everywhere, and then only we can have a greener planet. And
Yes.
people always
Exactly.
try to push towards things like it has already been discussed, that you moved from India to another place seeking or thinking that the
Mm,
grass is going to be greener that side, or you're
mm,
not going to face those difficulties. But then
mm,
this is something, climate change is something which is all bringing us under one roof that
mm,
is, I mean, the same planet, the same water, the same air that we breathe in. May not be immediately, but it's the same air everywhere. So that is why what you mentioned was, you mentioned very correctly that we need to make change to whatever place that we belong or wherever we are standing. And so Monica, that is for you as well, that it was just an idea, or just understanding of the society and the nature better. Like, we haven't, I personally haven't seen the scarcity of water personally, but it's not that I cannot be, or I should shut my eyes towards the people, those who are facing it, or I should feel that I am not responsible for it. When I say I, it is coming from the voice of the youth. So
Yes.
equally, we have to understand that we are a part of the same citizenship, that is the world citizenship, as I always say.
Exactly.
And we also have to take care of the people, those who are not getting those amenities. Sure, thank you, thank you. So I just wanted to
Absolutely.
clarify that, and that's why I got into it.
Yes, definitely. When you say I, you are representing the youth, and Monica was representing the community which has not directly been affected by climate
Sure,
change. So, like I
sure.
said, we all need to be in the call. We all need to be taking action, call to action, all hands on board, whatever you might define it as. All of us
Absolutely.
accountable. Yes.
And Tam, do you have any recommendations where you are taking it all in? And what are your thoughts? Would like to hear from you, Tam.
Well, I just you Basudha have deepened my understanding, and as you were of the depth of the crisis that you're facing in your part of the world, and you've deepened my commitment to do more than just know that it's happening, and to speak out more, find out what I can do to help turn this around. I, as I put in the chat, I love this planet, and I love the people of this planet, and the 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 crisis happening to our planet I've been aware of for a long time, but you have brought my awareness to a whole new level today, and so in this moment, you have my commitment that I'm going to do more and raise the issue more actively. And yeah, it just I love this planet deeply. I love the people of this planet deeply, and what you have described of what people are facing, just it needs to be, it needs to be raised. Your speech was brilliant today, as it always is, but today it's you've touched me very, very deeply, and you have my commitment to doing more.
Thank you so much, Tam, for this kind words. But for the first time, actually, I think the reason why the speech came powerful was uh, this is a representation from the youth. This has been my son who has completed all the research, and what crisis, water crisis I face in my community is what I have been talking about. And
Mhm.
even though I have made this presentation, the experiences of what is happening in the townships is an older version of mine and a younger version from the youth perspective. That's my son's. So, like I was just saying, like you saw in the call of Monica and Avni, when the youth and the experienced come together, the impact created is more. And that was the reason of the call. As you just rightly said, you have been impacted more. And I believe this is how we can bring about climate change. If the youth and the experienced come together collectively, we can do it. It's not about women's empowerment or women's education being a separate topic, like I said. GBB is not a separate topic. My girls can stay in school when there is water and food in the house. my girls can go to school when they're allowed to have an education because of they don't have any sort of gender based violence. So the reason why I say a holistic growth of a society is only possible, repeat again, when the youth and the experienced come together. And we love our world. That's so rightly said. Whichever part of the world we have only one earth. We have nowhere else to go to. Thank you so much, Tam, for the inspiration.
I always learn from you. Thank you for today.
Thank you so much. It's a big thing for
And it has
Siddhant
been
to
amazing.
understand.
It has been amazing conversation. And I'm gonna ask for you guys to take, this is probably gonna take 30 seconds, promise no more than that. It's just a feedback for us, for Basudha, and see how we can do better. So if you can please just to get into this pool and tell us more about it, is data is important for everything though.
And I also want to thank Monica, which I have not been able to do in the call, just a few seconds. I had given a presentation from the paper that the son has submitted to university, and she made an amazing presentation out of it. So I don't know if she is a professional presenter, but I'm going to come to you for advice next time I have such a bland research paper handed out, and I want to make it in such a way that I want to connect with the community. So I'm definitely going to get in touch with you, Monica, because
Anytime.
technically is a different thing, and making an impact is a different thing. You can say the same sentence in different ways, and that's how the power of presentation is. And I'm really grateful. I was just going through this again when I was chatting in the Zoom call, and it is amazing, and I'm saving it for a future presentation again.
Okay,
Thank
yeah,
you so
no.
much, Monica.
I'm visual, and it's totally visual. And when I see a white paper, I have to put
Yeah.
in the. I'm a Latina, so that is why.
We were chatting about it with Monica, and we were like, because it's part of a research, we don't know
Yeah.
ethically if that was correct, but we love it when you're able to appreciate, and this is how we can be of resources to each other. And just like you've brought so much, and there's so much that will be taken away from this call that's not going to just impact leaders, community leaders, animators, resource persons, but you've empowered communities and beyond. So we thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule and for always being present when you give presentations. I salute you. And it, like Tam said, I could not even say it better than she said. We had the passion, we had the drive. You've encouraged us to do more. You've made us be more accountable than when we came into this call. We were, like Monica said, indifferent because we're in the spaces and where we are. You feel, oh, it doesn't affect me. I can go on with power for days on end. Some may not be able to appreciate. I may experience that when I go home to my home country because they also experience what you're saying, but they're experiencing it on a daily basis. So this
Yeah.
has become something that has become a way of living in Zimbabwe, which
Mm.
should not be the case. There's room to do better. But what is it that we're doing as a Zimbabwean community when it comes to climate? Are we doing enough? Or are we saying from a place of lack, oh, we cannot do it? So you've not only inspired me, but as a Zimbabwean citizen,
Yeah.
what's going to be my call to action? So it's also as I step away from the land of privilege. You're right. We ran away from our own home countries, seeking better opportunities and thinking the grass is greener on the other side. So I, as an immigrant in this foreign land, which I now call home, what is my call to action to my birth country that is coming from a place of lack? What is my responsibility? So I honestly thank you. You've put something in all of us that we need to be accountable for. Many of us are immigrants in the foreign lands. What is it we can do better? What is our call to action? How can we be part of the change agents when it comes to climate? And what is it that we can do better in the communities and the countries that we now call home? What can we do? Because every one country, it doesn't matter whether you're privileged or you're economically privileged or developed over the other. Climate change is going to impact us all. Global warming is real. So what is our call to action? What is it that we can do better? And that's what we leave you with. And what would be your parting words, Basudha? We want to thank you. Honestly, we want to thank you. Words are not enough. But we always say in our true fashion, together we rise, together we can. And you and I have that responsibility. We are change. But what would be like to leave those that are listening into the call, those that are present? What would be your parting words?
Yes, thank you, Maria, for this opportunity. Like I said, when you speak from a point of conviction, when you are going through the process of difficulties, your message, your way of speaking stands out. And I will say two things from this call. Whoever is listening, whoever will listen in the future, every one of us needs to take accountability for stopping climate change where it is, and then secure our community. When I talk about everyone, I consider the youth, older women, disabled, indigenous communities, men, children. Everyone can contribute in their own way. Everyone can take little actions. So start from securing your community. Like I said, do ways to stop water crisis, do ways to get clean sanitation. That is one step, the most primary thing that's ailing all of us in Africa currently. Once our community is secure, we can go about advocating for others. But I will expect everyone in the call today, once you are out of the call, think you are now an advocate for climate change and start talking to the person you meet. If it is a woman, it will spread more, believe me. More women will be impacted. If you are talking to a man, you will be making only that man understand. That's my personal experience. But get your thought across climate change, what you have taken from the call about climate change, into the next person and into the next person, and see by the end of this month how much you have learned, how much you have advocated, and how many people are coming back to you to know more. How can we contribute to climate change? Because everyone is worried, like you heard Avni say, everyone is worried, but they don't know how. So, those of you in the call, become that advocate for the know how. That's all I will expect from you. And thank you, Maria, for giving me this platform. I'm always grateful for being able to speak, and this affects the youth, and anything that affects the youth affects me because it affects my kids' future. So, I am taking accountability for the mess. And all of us elders who are here today, please take accountability and start your advocacy. Thank you so much, Maria.
Wow, well said. All of us have a responsibility for the mess we created. And like Mama Sita would say, Let's be hero makers. And if anybody, whatever your call is tonight or to this afternoon or this morning, your call to action, be a hero maker by advocating and standing with the youth, by advocating for a better future for the youth. You and I have a responsibility. Let's own it. And, like you said, again, the conversations of gender-based violence, sexual gender-based violence continue. Tomorrow, as we go into day 12, can we imagine it's already day 12? We'll be having a conversation with women with disabilities, the amount of risk that they face from physical, sexual, and emotional violence. Can we do better? We'll also look again at the elderly abuse, where the elderly have been taken advantage of, where they've been violated by loved ones or other, from financial exploitation, social isolation and neglect, and also health related vulnerability and abuse. And we will close off the session tomorrow by looking at the widows. I say in the work of activism, we cannot ignore these women because they are women. They identify as women, the widows. We march and hit the drums, but we don't raise our hands and fists to stand for the widows. And tomorrow we will share the widows' memoirs, as we call them, through a fireside chat, where they'll share their journeys, their struggle, their real life experience, what it has felt like. These are also the most abused, most ignored. And as activists, as feminists, as advocates of women empowerment and women rights, I call us all to take responsibility and ask ourselves genuinely, when was the last time we stood for the elderly? We stood for the women with disabilities and for the widows. So join us tomorrow on day 12 when we address all these women coming from those 3 different groups. So we appreciate you. They too matter, just like climate matters. Women and girls' rights matter. The widows and women with disabilities and the elderly also matter. Before we go, we always say, you are hope. You bring hope to one girl, one woman, one man, one boy, one community at a time. Go and spread the light. Go and be a hero maker. And that's your goal. What's your call to action when it comes to climate? What's your role? So once again, thank you for joining us from where you tuned in from around the globe. It's mucho gracias, asante sana, merci beaucoup, danke, hasta mañana, mañana. See you tomorrow. Thank you.
It's the same link, so we expect you tomorrow. Bye.
Mañana.